All right, lesson 6. There's no new lesson notes. We're actually going to use our lesson notes from lesson 5 in order to do the examples today. Let's go right to the examples. Okay, let's go right to our examples from lesson 6. So determine whether each of the following, and I don't know why it's taking, okay, there it is. Determine whether each of the following is even, odd, or neither algebraically. So remember, when we want to determine whether a function is even, odd, or neither, we first check whether it's even. So we first check f of x against f of negative x. And if you get the same thing as the original function, you're done. That means it's even. Okay? If we don't, then we have to go a step further and compare f of negative x to negative f of x. Okay? So let's take a look at number 1 here. I rewrote them so I would have a little more room. So we're first going to double check h of x against h of negative x. So remember, h of negative x, what that means is to replace x with negative x and then simplify. And remember, negative x is really negative 1x. Okay? And negative 1x squared, negative 1x squared is really x squared. So we end up with x squared minus 1 over here. Same thing on the right-hand side. Negative 1x squared is really x squared. So notice I end up with the same exact function. So this is an even function. So that first example, h of x, is an even function. Okay. Second one, j of x. Let's find j of negative x. Again, we find j of negative x by replacing x with negative x. Okay? And if I do that, in this first term, I end up with 2 to the power of negative x. And in the second term, I have 2 to the power, and I have negative. That's a double negative, which makes a positive. So I end up with 2 to the power of negative x plus 2 to the power of x. Now, at first glance, these do not look exactly the same. However, if I switch around, let's say I switch the order, which I'm mathematically allowed to do, changing the order doesn't affect the value. If I change the order of the terms, do they look exactly the same? Yes, it does. So this is also an even function. Okay. Number 3, q of x. Let's compare it to q of negative x. Okay. So again, replace x with negative x and simplify. So this would be 1 over negative x plus negative x, or minus x. Okay. And we can see here these are not the same. So this is not even. Okay. So if we go back to our notes, if it's not even, then we have to check odd. So now we have to do negative f of x, or in this case, negative q of x. That means change the sign of each term in the original function to its opposite. So negative q of x means I'm going to go back to the original function up here, and I'm going to change each term to its opposite. So 1 over x becomes negative 1 over x. Okay? And plus x becomes minus x. Now I'm going to compare these two. Now, once again, at first glance, they don't look exactly the same. The minus x and the minus x match up. But this one, I have 1 over negative x, and then to the right, I have negative 1 over x. Now, they don't look exactly the same, but let's use our knowledge of fractions. If I have a negative in front of a fraction, does it matter whether I put that negative in the numerator or the denominator? And the answer is no. In the one to the left here, I have the negative in the denominator. In the one to the right, I have the negative in the numerator. Even though the negative is in a different spot, it overall has the same value. So negatives in fractions can go either in the numerator or the denominator, which means these are the same, which means this is an odd function. Okay. Number 4, r of x. Okay, let's once again, we'll check whether it's even first. So we'll check it against r of negative x. So I'll do the same thing I've been doing. Okay, replace x with negative x and simplify. So this will be 1 over negative x. And then over here I have a double negative. Okay, a double negative becomes a positive. So 1 over negative x plus x. Clearly, these are not the same. So this is not even. Okay, so now I'm going to go and do negative r of x. So I'm going to take the original function and change each term to its opposite. So 1 over x becomes negative 1 over x. Negative x becomes plus x. And if I compare these two, I basically have the same thing I did before. Okay, the plus x and the plus x match up. And in this case, I have fractions. One of them, the negative is in the numerator. One of them, the negative is in the denominator. That does not affect the value, like I said before. So these are the same thing. So this is also an odd function. Okay. Last one, p of x. So let's do p of negative x. Okay. So once again, negative x squared, negative x times negative x is going to be positive x squared. So this will be x squared plus 4. And same thing over here. This will be negative x times negative x, which is x squared, minus 3. Okay, so we do get the same thing. So this is even. So the last one is even. And that is it for lesson 6.